Welcome to the In Tune Guitar Academy. Today we have a special guest, Darren Michael Boyd, a famous guitar player from around the region. I'm in just south of Ottawa. He's from Kentville, and we're going to be talking to Darren about his experiences as a musician, his experiences as a guitar player, and just getting to know him a bit better. We are at a studio in a small town called Osgood, and the studio's name is Vibration Studio.
That's it.
First time here, so Darren, thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. And
thanks for having me.
Welcome to the In Tune Guitar Academy. And I understand that you have 3 solo albums now out.
Yeah, three solo albums. The 4th one should be out this October,
really?
Coming soon. Yeah, it's exciting. It's even more guitar. Like, I know it sounds funny because they're all guitar instrumental, but the 4th one is like I'm pushing it a little more.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. How are the sales going for Last Seen in Canada?
Not bad. I mean, that came out in October. We're like, July now, almost August, right? So, sales kind of peter out a little bit after time. And I haven't really done much promotion in a while. I haven't done any new videos or anything because the summer's been so busy. But, every now and then I get sales from all over the place, looking for albums. A lot of CDs, not just downloads. People actually want the CDs,
and we thought that CDs were dead. So
I don't know. I think that's what the industry wants us to think. They want us to do things that are just in the air, but I think people like to have something.
For sure. I'm the same way. I'd rather have the CD.
You're paying your money, you want something to show for
exactly.
it,
right? It's just more reliable than the cloud service because you don't always have internet. And
And plus the CD itself it's even though you don't have to buy the CD to get the music, I mean, you can get that for free. The CD is merchandise. It's part of like owning something from the artist that you want to support. So.
And you have art. That's one thing you don't get from downloads is the album art. I actually took apart a whole bunch of my CDs and put them in a frame, and they're up on my wall.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
that's how I feel. I feel strongly about album art. So.
Yes, me too. Yeah.
And vinyl too. There's a big revival of vinyl.
Yeah.
A lot of people are buying turntables. They just like the sound, the analog sound.
Yeah.
It's just not the same as downloads. It's not digitized.
Yeah. I was listening to around Christmas. Listening to some old records and you hear the scratches and stuff, but I don't know, there is something about it. It is different. It's a different experience, and it's cool that kids and younger people are experiencing that, for the first time.
One of my most popular videos on my YouTube channel is about preamp for turntables. It's by NAD, and I bought it online and then just received it. And I did one of these unboxing videos, first time ever, last time I did it. So, and I just opened it up, plugged it in, and it makes a huge difference. I played some Black Sabbath, not Paranoid, War Pigs.
Okay.
And played it once without the preamp, played it again with the preamp, and a huge difference.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
So I take it you're local? You were born around here?
Yeah, well, I was born in Ottawa and then grew up for the first few years, until I was, I think, 7 or 8 around Quebec, a few places, and then moved close to Toronto, and then moved to Kentville, and I've been there, other than living in Florida for a little while, I've been in Kentville ever since.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kentville's changed quite a bit over the years. I moved to this area about 20 years ago, and it's so much different now compared to back then, because now looks like a suburb, but it's far away.
I know, it's kind of turning into Barhaven anyway. I've been saying it's been going that way for a while, and I wouldn't mind it so much if they get their act together with the traffic, but it's crazy. It's like easier to drive on downtown Ottawa than it is in Kentville sometimes.
Oh, really? Well, Kentville is about half an hour south of Ottawa, and just so you can place yourself, Ottawa is the capital of Canada, for those who don't know. So about when did you start playing guitar?
Good question. I think I was in my teens, like 15, 16, when I decided guitar was going to be my thing. When I was younger, I think I was about 8 when I started taking drum lessons, 8 or 9, something like that. And I took drum lessons for a few years. And I was one of those bad students, to be honest with you, where it was like I was reading the notes and stuff, and I didn't practice because it was just kind of dull. I wanted to be Peter Criss, you know, to like have lots of drums and play drum solos. And many years later, I understand how much I actually did take away from those lessons. I did learn a lot, but yeah. And then there's, I don't know what it was. There are a number of things that changed me to guitar. One thing was my older brother had a guitar. He always had guitars, and so I would always kind of sneak in and play his guitars when he wasn't around. I was drawn to that instrument for sure. And
I learned the same way from my older brother. He showed me how to play. And
yeah. Well, most of the time he wasn't teaching me because I was sneaking in and playing when he didn't know it. And then when I pick up the guitar when he would let me and I would be playing, he'd be like, how do you know that? Nobody ever showed me how to hold a pick or how to fret anything or anything.
Right.
I kind of figured that out. And then when I was, now that I think about 16 or 17, I was taking lessons from a local guy in town who was a really good guitar player. And I wasn't learning how to read music or anything, just learning a couple of scales, riffs, and how to learn by ear.
yeah, well, a lot of rock musicians don't sight read, and I don't think it's all that necessary. Even Paul McCartney doesn't know how to sight read. And
Yeah, exactly.
He's one of the most famous musicians in the world. Same with Keith Richards. So, yeah.
When I was, I know we'll probably get to this anyway, but when I was doing the guitar workshop thing in Toronto,
Right.
And Billy Sheehan was there.
Okay.
And, I mean, ridiculous bass player, right? And he played with Steve Vai and all the, you know, and he said he didn't read music. He didn't know how to read. And it was kind of one of those things where there was a bunch of people just kind of like their jaws dropped going, what did he say? He didn't read. And then I remember asking him, I was like, well, how do you do some of this stuff that's really complex and everything? And he said, well, if it's something I really don't know, I'll ask Steve.
So
like,
there, the secret's out.
yeah, but I mean, somebody like that, you just go, wow, he's so gifted. He must be one of those people that can just, you know, put a sheet music in front of him. But he didn't have to. He's, yeah.
So beyond that, did you take more lessons, or just mostly self-taught, ear trained?
Mostly self-taught from that point, really.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, it never ends, right? I'm still always trying to learn and get better. And
I even heard on the radio once KK Downing, guitars for Judas Priest. He's probably in his close to his 70s now, and he's saying he's still learning as well. So I mean, the most famous guitar players around are still learning.
Yeah.
So I noticed on your website, he's got a great website. You should check it out. It's DarrenBoyd.com. Is that?
Yep,
it?
that's
So
it. Yeah.
I'll post a link.
It's a little shorter than
Yeah.
Darren Michael Boyd.
Yeah.
So that's why.
But I checked it out, and then it mentioned that Kiss and Meatloaf and Queen.
Yeah,
And
Alice Cooper.
what else?
Alice Cooper.
Alice
That's
Cooper
the-
for sure. Yes, sorry
Yeah.
about that. So,
No,
how does listening to that kind of music? How did that influence? Describe your influence, their influence on you.
Well, it started off being about 7 and just seeing. I think it was my birthday. I always said Christmas, but I don't think so. When I start thinking about it, anyway, it doesn't matter. But I got a Kiss record, and about a week later, I got an Alice Cooper record, and that just. Up until that point, I was listening to music, but it was mostly like, cartoonish stuff, Disney music, right? And, I was 7. And when I got those albums, it changed everything, right? And they were like, because it wasn't just music. You look at the album covers, and it was like Kiss were like my superheroes, and Alice Cooper and David Bowie and all that, like just all of that 70s.
Well, those albums, they tell a story. It's not just the music. You open it up, and then you can read about the musicians. You read about where they've played. They sometimes put those little pictures. And
and when I got Kiss Alive, I mean, same thing. I was still like 7 years old, and I remember thinking, like I didn't know what was making the sounds. I didn't know who was playing what instrument and what instrument made the sounds, but I just knew there was some excitement there that I knew I wanted to create something like that. I wanted to contribute somehow. I mean, I probably thought I was in Kiss for a period of my life, but Alice Cooper was the one that stayed with me my whole life, like where Kiss kind of came and went. I mean, they were always like, they sort of became a little more Disney actually for a while there. But Alice always seemed to maintain something. I don't know what it is, but the songs are great, and his band is always killer.
And you had some involvement with Alice Cooper, right?
Sort of, not with Alice himself, but his bass player and his daughter have a band called Bisto Blanco, and I was kind of involved working. He was helping me a little bit with some of my songs for a band called Creeping Beauty, and he liked my writing style, so we were kind of sending some stuff back and forth. And so, I mean, those who are fans of Bisto Blanco, if you're not, you should be. They're just killer. I was there. I knew the band was coming before it had a name, you know. So it was very exciting to be involved in that. They haven't actually recorded any of my songs yet, though. Working on it, little bits and pieces and stuff. But it's cool, still it is still really cool to be in that. And
6 degrees of separation.
Exactly. yeah, exactly. And I've met Alice a few times.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I mean, he'd have no idea who I am. Of course, he's Alice Cooper. But
did you do the Wayne's World?
Actually, I gave him a business card. I gave him like, if you need a snake when you come to town, let me know, because when they come, I don't know if he's even still using a snake in the show.
I saw him a couple of years ago at the Civic Center. I didn't notice any snake.
No.
We were pretty far back, but I don't think. Like, I remember seeing old pictures. He had a boa or
he's had a few different ones, but those types of snakes, for those who don't know, they're not. When I say endangered, it sends a different kind of message, but they are protected to the point where they're what we call CITES animals. So you can't take them across the border without an export permit. So they could not. The logistics of getting an export permit to bring a boa across for 3 shows in Canada is not worth it. But occasionally they'll call upon somebody who's in town that hey, can you bring a snake?
Just by the way, if the reason you know so much about reptiles and snakes, you have a business, right?
Yes, Reptile Rainforest, which I've been doing for over 2 decades now.
We're going to talk about that later on, but I thought that was really interesting.
And there's kind of a circular thing, like, and I mean, it makes me wonder if I didn't get into snakes because of Alice Cooper. Kind of goes full circle, right? It's like,
But it's not just snakes. You have lizards and...
Yeah, lizards and turtles and frogs.
And then there's videos, you can see some of those animals. It's when you check out the website, go on and you'll see some of they're self-produced videos, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I always joke that the videos cost me like $8 to $12 or something, but, you kind of, it's not a matter of me being a cheapskate or something like that, or a control freak. It's a matter of like, I want it done. And and it's the same as my recordings with music. I spend a lot of time like waiting for other people, and that's not dissing anybody. That's just the fact that this is the best advice I can give anybody who wants to do something creative or business or anything, is you don't need anybody's permission to get started, and don't wait, because how many times will you say, man, if I just had, an extra $10,000, if I just had the right piece of gear, or the right guitar, or the right, musician, or it's always something. So those things will fall into place, but you got to get started.
I saw something to that effect yesterday on LinkedIn. Kevin O'Leary, which I follow on LinkedIn.
I remember him,
said something like, ideas are a dime a dozen, action speaks, like that.
Exactly,
It's one thing to say you're going to do something, but actually doing it is
and
a whole other level.
And I have to say that I'm not sitting here saying pointing the finger at anybody, because I was that guy a lot of times, waiting, going, man, if I had a record deal, or if I had that, you always wait for these things, and it's like, that's why DarrenBoyd.com, the website, even exists, because I started that for my various music projects to put into place. And there's an actor by the name of Darren Boyd, a British actor.
I noticed that.
I was like,
him the other day.
I know, and I'm like, man, I have to get this website before he does. So, but he probably has a UK one now. So exactly. I should have done that.